to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
I'm not sure what's, it looks like I can't dial in with the phone, but I am here. I'm gonna have to use my computer audio, so no big deal. Just, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you great.
It's a little loud in here.
I'll try to talk a little quieter.
No, we got it.
Turn me down.
Oh, Corey. I've seen it. I'm gonna project your voice next time. That nudging. Also.
Oh, my gosh. This is a meeting and this is a meeting. This is what I had. This one you got. All right.
Wow, cool. Does your dad have it?
Okay, Keith, you on?
I am on.
That's a much
Okay.
better volume.
Doesn't look like you at all, but we'll take it.
There he is.
like to dress like that, Keith. For context, there's
Denzel's on this screen.
Denzel's on the other screen. We gotta change that one. Slightly different than Keith.
Aw.
You gotta like,
There, I think you got it.
that one.
Yeah, maybe we'll figure out.
Okay, items for discussion and consideration, Town Square Vision Steering Committee update from Carl Moss. Carl, you wanna take the mic? Uh-oh.
Good evening. I'm chairman of the Town Square Vision Steering Committee. And just a little background information. As you well know, board members, that the Board of Aldermen on May the 3rd of 2023 by Board Resolution 369 initiated the committee. The committee was going to consist of between 9 and 13 members, 1 alderman and 1 P&Z commissioner. Also 3 residents, 1 from each of the city's 3 wards. No less than 4 appointed from various stakeholders in and around the community. The committee was to last 6 months from their first meeting. On July 19th, through Resolution 369, the board approved 11 committee members. The first meeting was on August 21st, and it was an opportunity just for the board members to get to know each other and to ask that the results of that was to ask that the hiring of PG AV be our recommendation. A second meeting on September 25th. This first meeting with PG AV and our first real work session took place. The recommendation of the board is to recognize this as our first meeting in September, which would give us until March 25th of this year to complete our work concerning this issue. On the September 25th meeting, the committee then narrowed the focus area further to 3 specific development areas: Town Square Avenue, Post Road being the first, Mers Farm Lane, and Town Square Avenue the second, and Technology Drive the third area. On November the 2nd, that was the introduction of the first public meeting that was held at ICD Parish. Website was also established, which is www.dartingprairie2024.org, to promote the work of the committee and to collect additional public information or input and data throughout our process. On the 6th of November, the committee met to review the data collected from the public meeting and to give input and visualization to the next meeting, next public meeting. On December the 4th, the committee met to refine the plan before the second meeting, public meeting. At this meeting, the committee struggled to coalesce around a clear path forward and requested that an additional work session discussion be held to further review and refine the information prior to the second meeting, which is going to take place on Monday next week. While this meeting was outside of the scope of this agreement, it was vital to have additional conversation to refine the development of the scenario and give a clear direction to PGAV before that second public meeting took place. On January 8th, the committee met again in a true work session format. We asked that we have a roundtable so that we could have visual eye-to-eye contact with each other and to draw out board members that at that point really hadn't had a lot to say and to participate more in the process. This meeting, I believe, was highly effective, even though it was very lengthy. The meeting engaged the entire group, and the process seemed to move along. Everyone participated, and their voices were all heard. I feel that as the chairman, it's my responsibility to make certain that all those members that are in this group be heard and their opinions be recognized. So eventually the committee was able to give a clear direction to the PGAV, and we're ready now for this second meeting that's taking place on Monday. Some of the thoughts that I have of this process going forward is that there will probably not be a clear consensus of the entire group in this process. The majority probably will be had, but most likely we won't have 100% of agreement on what might come forward. This board put together a group of people, and it's a very diverse group of people with strong opinions of some. And some of those opinions could very well impact or cause some of the board members not to come forward unless they're drawn out. So I again feel my responsibility as chair is to draw them out and to get their participation. So consensus most likely is that we will reach our goals. And what we're looking to ask the committee right now is asking if the board has any goals, primarily financial goals, that should be considered in choosing the path of the further development within the community. Financial input from the board is very welcome, but we'd like to continue to move on with what we're doing without a lot of input from yourselves other than whether or not you want to have additional financial concerns considered. So the committee has very strong opinions and personalities that at times a little bit conflict, but I believe that we've been able to overcome that. I want to give a very strong shout out to PGAV and the city staff for the support they have given throughout this process. I know that everyone has put in extra time and an effort to make this successful. Any questions that you may have?
Can you elaborate on what the looking for?
There's been questions that have been asked by some of the committee members as far as if, for example, a certain development was considered and approved, what that might bring in additional revenue, and in that additional revenue, what that might bring to city residents. For example, maybe additional police officers, possibly another park, or the ability to support existing parks, things of that sort.
Wouldn't that come out after we figured out what can be established there and if something could go?
Well, I mean, there's always room for consideration of various different things in these three areas that we're looking at. And the group, I think, basically is looking to say, okay, are there financial constraints the city has that we should be looking at? Make certain that the goals of the city are met financially. And in doing that, what can we do as far as when we're looking at the different opportunities of development that might lend itself to that? That answer your question?
I mean, myself, sitting on the board, the development, I would say, I would gear towards bringing in tax revenue to
Mhm.
the city.
Right.
So, that's where,
I'm not sure if that's shared by everyone.
right,
That's why we're looking to say, okay, we have choices to be made. And what are some of the financial considerations that we have?
I've been on this, if we start putting more subdivisions in there, that's additional cost for us.
Right.
Building streets and stuff and taking
Right.
care of road, stuff like that. I mean, although there would be bringing more people, I also understand to our area to shop, to spend money and stuff
Mhm.
like that too. I see the other, part of that also.
The-
We're looking more for a commercial type.
Yeah,
So,
the committee is looking at, okay, where would we place things commercially that might support, for example, the target area, those Snooks, different things that are already in place. And what can we consider bringing in that would lend itself as supporting that, but also bringing.
that, hey, that falls under mixed use development.
Right.
But that's my,
I get it.
I'm not
I
speaking.
understand.
Mark, if I could say that in a slightly different way, what I've heard in that is, there's a lot of talk about what the city needs to do for revenue, concessions that need to be made, that, would say revenue, in its part would quantify those concessions of seats and things like that without a city's financial goals would do that for development of that commercial area. So if it is just open, if the city needs money, get as much money as you can, and that's a very different decision than city needs $15 to get that, you know, versus somewhere but without any direction. It's just really need to focus on getting $50 million in tax revenue from that area to meet these financial goals to $5 million. That's the.
I think Mike was stating something that we're trying to find a balance. That's what we're trying to do. We recognize the fact that any city, any business has to have revenue in order to survive. It's going to give additional services to its constituents, its persons that live in the city. Then they need to maximize as best they can what we have to work with. So like I said, we're trying to find that balance.
So one of the things that we're going to do at this next public meeting is that some of the board members had asked to try to quantify. We went over financially how the city gets its revenue now. But that's again today, that's not talking about the future, what are the future goals would be. So one of the things that we've I've put together, we'll be presenting at this next public meeting is that what types of uses bring in what kind of money, but then also what kind of things, what things cost. So it's still a policy decision of this board ultimately. Increase spending on the streets, decrease spending on the streets, or increase policing, or decrease policing, or any other number of public policy decisions. But since this board has not given direction that, for instance, we would like to aspire to hiring another police officer, we would know then that we need to get another $350,000 a year in tax revenue. Then we would know that we need to go find it somewhere, possibly through economic development or through tax increase, but then we would at least know. So what members of the committee have asked is, well, I think as Alderman Costello said, you know, what's the give and take? So if I wanted another police officer 24 hours a day in Garden Prairie, how much does that cost us? Well, what does that actually take to get that? Well, it takes, you know, another Schnucks or, which isn't gonna happen, or 5 Quick Trips, or, and I'm just throwing out names, or just 5 convenience stores, or any myriad of those things to piece together $350,000 in revenue. So that's going to be part of the conversation, just to get people into thinking that ultimately, though, and I think the reason why the chairman's bringing it up tonight is if there is defined goals or some things that can help the committee understand that they might need for a revenue goal, then it helps them decide the types of businesses that put in this, and how many, and how much of it, how much saturation of those businesses would be necessary to even meet those goals. So that's just a point of discussion I think would help the committee. But it also is something that just from data points we've provided, we're going to provide the public on Monday to get them thinking about, okay, what's the purpose of having this extra economic development? Well, the most common thing I hear of from our residents is, I want more police officers. It costs a lot of money. Just one guy costs us a lot of money, more than we will get out of all of Prairie Encore. So general revenue. But what is it going to take to get another police officer? So those are the kind of things that maybe we'll get input from the residents on as well.
From my side, I think two long-term things that the city sees. This development in this area needs to be one of them. One is eventually the city will want, most likely to potentially down the road with it. I don't see that necessarily. I'm talking about 2 people full-time, 20. Everything does fill in. Some. Certainly more than what we have. Like double them. The other one that we've talked about a lot is sustainable fleet maintenance and corrections and preventive maintenance program that will make us, we don't have to go out and spend $5 million for the period. All the bad concrete. Bad concrete nets, so we hope that's not going to happen to them, but don't properly maintain them, we're going to be replacing them before 50, we're going to be replacing them before 50 years. They don't.
Be more accurate, it was 8 million over 3.
But exactly, we don't want to do that again, right? So it's probably, it's been a while since I looked, but when I last looked. This was 5 years ago, it was $13,000 a lane mile. Got what,
162.
162 lane miles. Probably 15 to 20,000 a lane miles, but depending on spending every single. No, we don't have enough reserves to sustain that.
This is part of the reasons why the committee is asking if would like for us to give some consideration to the financial situation that hear from that. I also would encourage each of you to be, if possible, at the meeting on Monday. Bring any of your neighbors along with you so that we get a good reading from the community as best we can of their thoughts on what's being done.
You're looking at everything in light of those 2 core challenges. The Fleets program and then future release of fleets. Things like parks, because it has its own tax program, even to some extent transportation, because we now have that tax. Anything you bring to sort of address those 2 areas and focus on how that developments in that area will solve those 2 will benefit everything.
One item I want to put, because you said 2 full-time police, possibly 3 in the future. Another thing that was enlightening that was brought up is a discussion on what costs come with this development as well. If we have a huge commercial district, as held out with the private reports in the development, we're going to need that extra police officer.
No,
for a
that's
commercial district. And so, we may need that 3rd officer. So that is one area that BJV offered guidance to. Unexpected.
That's why I assume that with the given to developing out that area. Because of that, the growth commercial residential, that would be. What we're doing. 16 hours a day, one person dedicated to every visit.
Can't emphasize enough the support that we have received from PTA, AV, I'm sorry, and also the city. They, I feel they have, when asked, provided the information that we've asked for, but they haven't interfered in the process. I think that's important. James, you've done a great job of, when asked, to by numbers to provide some of the information that we've struggled. Again, moving forward, a little bit, trying to regroup. That was why we felt we really needed to have that extra meeting in January. We didn't want to go out to the public, not have a clear understanding of what we can present to them. Anyone else? Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you. And thank you for your work on it.
All right. Ready to move on? Next item for discussion, consideration is a road project application for Post Road and Bates Road. Tom, you want to go ahead and lead off? I mean, we need to get this done for you to get the applications in.
Yep, need that. That's the only piece of the puzzle. Kim has provided the checks for the application on standby upon your kind of final approval. I think you've already kind of given some verbal blessings over the last couple of meetings, but we're at the point where tomorrow we need to hit the send button. We've done a lot of work with the road board back and forth and making sure, you know, both Bates Road and Post Road comply with some of their new standards. We've gone back and forth quite a few times with them, and Amanda and Sarah, several video conferences. Feel we're at a good spot. I think we also provided some spreadsheets on optimization of the points. And so Post Road Phase 2 is real similar as far as the funding agreement with the county. The county has signed off on, you know, we're asking for the maximum share from the feds based on acquiring points, and then the county's making up the balance of that. If you saw, they're taking on the bulk of it, and beyond what East West Gateway will share, but the county has agreed, and then our match will be 80-20 with the county share. So well, it was successful last year with Phase 1 doing it this way. We're hopeful that it will be successful Phase 2 doing it in a similar fashion so that we can start designing Phase 1 very soon.
Just give everybody an update with what exactly, obviously we're doing a complete rebuild post with some pedestrian facilities as well. Which obviously
Quite a few, 10.
Stormwater facilities too.
Yep, some sewers are included, and where necessary, widening the box culvert at the locations near Post Meadows. 10-foot wide shared use path on the west side in anticipation of the town square connecting Technology Drive. We've tried to anticipate as much of that as we can, and even expanded bicycle facilities along there. Same way with Bates Road. We've gone through with the county and reassessed things about making sure they are on board. They're on board as long as we conform to some of their new standards for bicycle safety and pedestrian movement. And we've incorporated those into Bates as well.
But Bates is a mill and overlay, but make sure the board is aware there's some, we're going to do some restriping
Yep,
on Bates, and that's gonna affect,
bicycle lanes,
right,
lane reductions, things like that on Bates. So that's all incorporated per St. Charles County Road Board. And again, we're asking for the maximum federal share to get at 1.3 million. To make sure if we go over that, then we start to lose points against the cost. First, the area that is pertains to cost. So the rest of it, I think we're at like 75-25 in order to maximize those points with the county and East West Gateway. Again, it's probably 3 or 4 video conference calls over both these projects as late as even yesterday with Amanda and Sarah to massage and make sure we're in conformance with them, because as you all know, it's a great thing the road board provides. We're also, as a quick update, that's kind of that on Henning Road. Our intent is again, during our discussions, we received a TAP grant already for on Henning, as you all aware. The county road board has a new program that they will help share costs on TAP programs now. So we will be in March. We're going to probably start on it next week or soon, applying for the matching money because the Henning Road TAP grants, the county road board was not participating in, it was in the past. That was 80-20 city and East West Gateway. So now we're going after the 20% match that we're going to share, in theory, 80-20 with the county. So it's about it. It will help the TAP grant program on Henning up to approximately $250,000 if we get it on the Henning match, which is significant. We're looking at these opportunities on a regular basis on behalf of the city, and they opened that up and we read that, then we immediately called them and they said we would consider going backwards on a retroactive to apply for the match that you didn't get before. So it's been.
They just freed up $90 million of state road funds for feds to dollars on the 75. Hopefully we can.
Yeah, again, the road board is an unbelievable mechanism. Imagine where we would be without the road board. We'd be not doing some of these projects like the cities on St. Louis County side, I can assure you, because I do a lot of work on that side.
On the post road there, some of those subdivisions in the town, that need or anything part of their expense.
Well, they own those the 2 major subdivisions on that road are actually, as you know, found. All we've been able to obtain from them so far is a letter of support that they've written. Probably, depending on, we've asked their city engineer. Up till now, they are not participating financially. Again, the road board is kicking in the majority of it anyway. I still have a small hope that we could maybe get them to contribute something, but as of right now, we do not have that.
Because it's going to benefit them quite a bit.
It is, and they have a commercial piece of property on the east side as well. But as of right now, James and I have not been able to get that secured.
Come on, James.
Well, it's not without trying.
yeah.
Okay, so we're a little bit off topic here. I mean, we're just mainly
Okay.
supposed to be discussing Post and Bates Road project, so. I mean,
That's really related a little bit to Post, Mayor, but
Okay.
that Alderman, that has not been forgotten. But
Every little bit helps. I mean, if we can-
Trust me,
Yeah.
Post road, if we can get.
we're very aware of it. That's why we're on the forefront.
Okay, next item, review of, Board of Aldermen agenda. Any questions? About the board meeting agenda? No, pretty simple.
I did want to ask, just go ahead and get it out of the way here since we have some time. The PGAV bill, I see, it says up to $5,000. Is that anticipated? Is that committed, or are they just adding up, say, in case?
Well, that's a good question. I sent everybody a billing, the billing that, showed what their logged hours were from December. And I asked them also to delineate between what part of that was outside the scope, what was already included in the scope. Because some of that work, the way I read it, I would say that was already part of the original scope. So yes, it's a do not exceed amount where we, with all of our billings, we scrutinize and we'll obviously push back and try to make sure that we're not getting billed for things that were already part of the original scope. Ultimately, the goal is always to end up less than what the maximum do not exceed amount is. That's our goal. I think their goal is probably always to hit the do not exceed amount.
And that's why I'm a little concerned, because whenever pumps do not exceed, it's that high compared to work. It's really concerning.
Well, the original one was 10,000 and I got it done to 5, so.
So my understanding of the increase in scope, based on the request from division, their increase in scope was to sit down and take notes as they observed the January 8th. I'm curious to hear what other work we put in.
I sent you the billing list.
I
And I'll
don't know that I saw that.
send out to the board the Excel spreadsheet of every billing, every hour that they've spent on the last since December 18th, January 8th. Which employees and how many hours and what the hourly rate was. So my point to the total there was $5,287. My contention is that some of that is already part of the original scope. So how much of that is the original scope versus additional scope? Obviously, there wouldn't be anything beyond this because anything beyond January 8th would have to have been part of the original scope, not part of what was done in preparation for the January 8th meeting. But
I would.
I can tell you that the original, after that first meeting, myself and Carl had spoken to PGAV about what the next step was. Their original proposal was additional scope of $10,000 that would include one-on-one meetings with some members of the committee were trying to help get clarification from some members of the committee who were more outspoken as to what the direction would be because there was no consensus, lack of direction. I suggested that was unnecessary and that just another meeting of the entire group. And that they need to pare back this proposal. It came down to preparations and data collection for an additional meeting. Obviously, they also charged for the conversation they had with me. So those conversations in preparation for the January 8th meeting with myself and Lord Chairman Moss, as well as if you can see some of these. Do you have it? Did you see the?
I'm looking at it right now.
So, I mean, you'll see everything from some of the boards that they made for the January meeting, some internal conversations, coordination with the city, some research that they did because there had been multiple conversations about the research that had been requested about Cottleville and some of the development there. So that's what they have listed on here.
Mhm.
And then the meeting itself, I mean, the meeting itself was,
Was it 5.5 hours?
it was 3.5 plus drive time for each person.
So they pulled out the big guns and,
I mean, these are the people that, I mean, Lindsay and Sarah and Catherine are the people who've been with us the entire time. They didn't sub out anybody.
we have an associate director and a senior project manager.
Correct, and that's what we, yeah,
Okay.
had the entire time.
So I want to reiterate that in the December meeting, the request from originally, PJV wasn't even going to be involved. This was going to be a discussion between.
That was your request, but that wasn't what the committee said.
Let me finish what I was saying, and it wasn't my request, it was request of another member. The request was that the committee sit around and talk, have a committee discussion. And then the request from PGAV was, well, we want to be there because we want to hear, we want to be able to document. So the expectation, at least I left with, I tried to look at the recording today to see what was verbatim requested and wasn't able to. Recording, but that they would not lead, not run it, they would listen and allow the committee to have a conversation. So seeing thousands of dollars in prep, recovery and things like that in preparation for me, they're expected to sit, listen, document it. Seems incredibly inflated. And that's why I would like to get some more information on this and take a look back at what the actual request was for their scope, because everything else within the scope of their work already, they were already going to have to prepare that material before the meeting on the 12th. They were already working on consolidating the information from the previous meetings. I don't see any increase in scope except for that 6 to 7 man hours. So I have some big concerns on this thing, to not approve it until we can.
I mean, the nuts and bolts were given to you on an hourly basis, what they did. I mean, that's what's on that sheet. I mean, I will agree. I mean, I don't like the way any consultants bill. I mean, the present company may be included, but I mean, I don't question when someone says, this is what I did for you. We do question it, but I mean, when I'm not there to say like, no, I don't believe you didn't have an internal conversation, or I don't believe you. I do know for a fact, every one of those meetings they conferred with the city, those conversations were not part of the scope. We were behind because the committee could not move forward with a direction for PGAV to create visualization that public meeting number 2 would be able to engage the public with.
I
Disagree.
firmly disagree with that assessment of it.
You had to have another meeting because, I mean,
And
this,
it wasn't because the committee was not there, it's because the committee looked at what was proposed and said, this is nothing like what we directed you to put together. This absolutely does not fit the feedback that we gave you. And we need to go back to the drawing board and talk together and figure out a way to right this ship. But it is absolutely not because the committee couldn't give them direction.
it happened pretty easily on January 8th. So, I mean,
So let me just ask, so does the committee have a direction that they can present to us, anybody, whatever, that is contrary to what PGAV proposed? And I'm just gonna say, whatever direction anybody proposes, if there's not a developer willing to do it,
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen.
I hear that, and
It's not
I think a lot of those things. Admonishing that you just need to take PGAV because they know the developers and just put your feelings aside because that, or hey, we just need to get a whole lot of money. These are things that frustrate the process a bit. And yes, the unanimous voice, and now there's disagreements on details, things like that within the committee, but the unanimous voice of the committee was, we want to see development down there that enriches the community. We want meeting places. We want things that benefit the community first, but also with commercial uses. And they brought forward technology as a prime example. And I didn't hear but one person say that that was even remotely close. We want community oriented stuff. We want places for people to congregate. We want things that people will want to come to the area to see and do. 2 4-story apartment complexes and a warehouse district didn't fit the bill. And so that was what was going to be taken to residents. It was very clear that that wasn't going to work. So the committee said, hold up, we're going to get hung if we put this out in front of residents and say this was our stuff, because it wasn't. And so that is why there was the request that we sit down as a committee, not PGAV, and have a discussion. So when I see $5,000 coming back as a bill for the committee having what was supposed to be a self-led discussion, I take pause. Now, I wasn't able to be there. Apparently, we had some technical difficulties, and it was the one meeting that we didn't have remote access to. But it doesn't sound like the goal of it doesn't sound like the spirit of the request in December was actually met, but I'm only getting second.
I think the chairman explained what his process was at that meeting, which was to come off the dais, hence why we did not have remote access, to meet as a work session where we could all see each other. We were presented some additional information, which we've been billed for. And that helped spur along the conversation of finalizing the visualization, which was supposed to have been done at the December meeting. They did not expect you to rubber stamp at the December meeting what they brought, but there was no direction as to what to change other than to say, I don't like it.
That's not true.
But
we're gonna.
well, at least
I'm gonna encourage everyone on the Board of Aldermen, and we need to make that video public, and then everybody can see for themselves what was said instead of trying to repeat it here from memory.
But the point is that you can't have a meeting. I don't see how you're going to have a successful meeting, which we did have on January 8th. The chairman had the best meeting we've had so far, where everyone was engaged, where people weren't talked over or spoken over or felt like they couldn't engage. And they gave a very detail-oriented, clear direction to PGAV, which they have now presented the committee with boards for their approval and their review for the January 12th meeting. That should have been the process in December, and it didn't get to that point after a lengthy meeting.
One thing I would caution against is speaking for other people's feelings, but I would say that that's not what I've heard from all the committee members, that they felt like they could say whatever they wanted to and be open.
I'm sure not all of them, but
So for the sake of kind of my own understanding on how we're going to handle this is not an administrative action, right? I'm sorry if I'm speaking too loud. This is something we can read once and table until the next meeting. Where at that point we can find more information out about this and better understand the full scope of what we're approving here and a little bit of the background on it, because it sounds like is that a fair statement? This is not administrative.
I mean,
As a board, we've established that unless it's administrative, we're going to read it once, and I feel like we've kind of moved away from that. But this is an occasion where I'd like to foot stomp that policy that we as a board have already approved.
I would look at this as any other change order that we've done for any other project you're completing. Now, this work has already been completed for the city. I couldn't tell you what what that ends up being with the relationship with PGAV. We obviously couldn't do this over Christmas. And this is something that originally we internally thought this would be something that we could do as a change order, because it was not because it's less than $10,000, because it was not originally budgeted for this amount. It has to get board approval. If it had been part of the original budget. This would be an administrative approval. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
No, not understood, but that's my point. It's not part of the original budget. This is additional amount of money that the board wasn't aware of. And I have no background on this. And I don't, I don't know if any other aldermen have background on this. I don't. I'm just listening to this discussion and then knowing that in 13 minutes, I'm going to have to make a vote on it, which is again, why I'm just suggesting that we abide by our own rules, that unless it's administrative, that we read it once tonight and then we can all discuss this internally, because there's a lot of back and forth that I'm really kind of losing some of the details in. So that's just something I'd like to throw out there to consider for the other aldermen.
And I would support that. I think it'd be a good question is who approved the additional scope and what was the additional scope? That, as we're seeing it after the act has already happened, after the work has already happened, is equivalent to how the band additional outlays money above. I guess the remedy for that would be if that means that the last meeting falls off and basically that meeting with the original contract.
I appreciate what PGVA has done and what they're doing, and I just want to make that clear. But just because a consultant that we've already hired comes in and dictates to us, this is what I mean, I think that there's a certain level of fiduciary responsibility we have in reviewing it thoroughly and ensuring that everybody, especially is the board. So that's all I'm saying is I haven't had that opportunity, and I will certainly ask for one reading tonight.
I agree with you.
All right. They have communications, city attorney,
I have nothing, man.
city engineer.
I just want to add that we would like to get before the mayor and James tonight, we would like to make sure that the resolution is signed while you're all.
That's it, all ready to go.
And the signature pages.
Yep.
At the back end of the grant.
All ready to go. Yep.
Appreciate it.
City administrator?
Yep. So this past week, I guess it was last week, the cities of St. Charles County held a little showcase, a municipal showcase in Jefferson City to showcase what the communities and our businesses in our communities have done and are doing. It was an opportunity for us to let legislators know the success of local governments and municipal governments, especially here in St. Charles County. We were joined by pretty much everybody in St. Charles. Well, I shouldn't say that because there's a lot of smaller communities too. We were joined by Wentzville, Lake St. Louis, O'Fallon, St. Charles, and Weldon Spring. Joined us in this effort. It was well attended. We had a lot of great conversations with a lot of elected officials. We did bring some boards that showed some of the access issues we have off of the highway to the town square development, where we hope to get some legislative assistance in improving that access. We also did the mayor did set up a meeting with both the state representative in charge of MoDOT's appropriations, as well as a representative from MoDOT to talk about these issues. So those are ongoing conversations about improving the 364 interchange and access into the town square area. It has been a long-term a priority of the city, and it continues to be one. So we're very excited about that. This is the first year that the municipalities in St. Charles County have ever done this, and so we're really excited. Hopefully, continue this in the future. Also, we did get a lot of conversation, or did get a lot of comments from legislators who were impressed that the communities in St. Charles County worked together so well, not just on that lobbying effort, but through some of our other developments we showed off. So that was very exciting. Also, next Friday is our pre-construction meeting with the contractor for Stump Road. So that process is moving forward. we'll be giving them a notice to proceed, or we'll be requesting a formal notice to proceed from MoDOT as soon as the pre-construction meeting is complete and all those boxes are checked. That, I believe, is all we have at the moment. And while it has been said, it bears repeating, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock here in this room on February 12th, that's Monday. We will have easels and representations of different development designs and ideas and opportunities for the town square vision project area. So be an opportunity for more input, opportunity to see more ideas. This is not a formal presentation or things chosen by the committee or things being advocated by the committee. It's simply ideas and opportunities, possibilities for development in those corridors, an opportunity for the general public to give input on those ideas. So encourage you to come and bring your friends and neighbors. That's all I have.
Alderman,
Just one quick question for the city engineer, and just doesn't have to be long or anything, but is there a time frame for the Barrett Haven Boulevard qualification that we're looking at this point? What's like an expected time frame? I've got some folks over here and in my ward asking about stop signs again. I know that's kind of the contingent point, so just wanted to see if there was a time frame I could give them for the qualifications for Barrett Haven Boulevard.
So we did reach out to East West Gateway about the functional reclassification, and they told us that they're going through the grant process right now, and it would probably be close to May before we would know anything if we're reclassified.
Okay, good enough. That's just a standard process, right? So I'll let folks know. I appreciate it, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, if we hear earlier than that, I'll certainly share it with the board.
Thank you, sir.
I've had numerous calls this week from Prairie Encore with debris being brought out onto the street. They have cleaned it last night at the end of the day, washed it down, but it remains a problem all day long. They're not cleaning it. They're not cleaning the trucks off. There's no washout area for the trucks. Comment I got back was the developer said this property is going to generate a lot of debris until final grading. And I don't know if that means rough grading or once they put sod down, they're finished 5 years from now. But it's unacceptable what they're doing. Inverness, 3 different stages of it was built, and there was nothing drug out of the development at all, but it remains a problem.
If I can add on to that a little bit, I was driving home going on 5Z about a week ago, and they were out there with street sweeping up, and there was someone blocking traffic. He just was standing out there, holding his hand up, blocking traffic, and the dust cloud was so thick and large that you couldn't see him. It worried me for his safety, because I could barely see the outline of any dust cloud. So that's something that I agree.
we have contacted multiple people in that. It's everybody involved in that, given their word that they would clean up.
Awesome.
So
When
immediately, the water truck was an improvement. They didn't have that. That was something they said that they would be doing regular cleanups through the course of the day.
they didn't do it today.
And we'll talk to them again.
They're bringing trucks in and out every day, multiple numbers of trucks every day, and they're not cleaning up every day.
They're not,
They,
they're not
they are
cleaning up
not
every
cleaning
day.
that street on a regular basis. They need to have a laborer there with a shovel and a broom cleaning it up when they drag it out.
So you're saying every truck should be followed by
Yeah, why not? Why not?
That's not gonna happen, Dave. It's not reasonable. It's not reasonable. They will clean up on a regular basis throughout the day.
Tell the people in Pinnacle Point that it's not reasonable that all that dust is blowing into their house. Tell the people that drive past there in their car that it's not reasonable to clean the street.
I've driven past there in the last week 2 times and did not see a dust cloud. I went right through it.
No, you need to drive by there more often. I go by there 4 or 5 times a day.
All right.
It's a problem. Shut them down. They'll clean it up if you shut them down. Passed by O'Fallon, building up by Veterans, there's not a speck of dirt on the street. And there hasn't been. They built a big retaining wall and they moved a lot of dirt. O'Fallon had them keep it on the property. Thank you.
Where's that at?
On Bryan Road at Veterans. That's
I drive by that every day. They had the right lanes closed because there was so much mud in the streets for weeks. That's how I go home every day. They had cones out in the
Okay,
street.
so it's okay for us to do that.
I'm not saying it is.
I say, but you're-
Let's not say that Brian's any better, because that was a horrible mess that I drove through for weeks.
Yeah.
I drive through that and I go right to the club car wash at the top of the street.
I've got
Every
the
day.
word from 3 different people that they were going to make an extra effort to keep it clean.
Dust.
Anybody else? Alderman? I'm just gonna reiterate the meeting at MoDOT went very well, or actually in Jeff City, the people that we met some new reps and left very encouraged that they're behind us to get something to happen on our 364 grant. So one particular rep, Ron Mayhew, he is when I talked to several of them that were there, 2 of them brought me over to him and said, he's your guy that you got to get behind you. And he's a former employee of MoDOT, was an engineer, and now he's a multiple term rep for I'm not sure what county, but it's actually down close to Lebanon, Missouri. And we met with him in his office Wednesday morning. He was going to go over to MoDOT with us and said that when he shows up, they listen. But he got called to the floor like at 8:15, so we didn't make it our 9 o'clock meeting. But when we finished, he asked how it went. We told him, and he said he would take up the fight. So.
Mayor, if there's anything I can do or anything about, I can't speak for the board, but anything I can do to help increase the odds of letting them know this is important to us, please do share and let me or let us know. So appreciate the efforts there.
Thanks, Keith, and I'll keep you in mind if we need more support or anything. Mark was there and he's got a lot of contacts in Jeff City that is pretty amazing. His former employer.
Mr. Mayor, you might want to remind everyone that February 19th and 20th, is that right? 20th and 21st is the UML
Legislative
conference.
conference,
It's the
right,
20th and 21st.
right.
So-
Registration closed yesterday.
Oh, that's right, it did.
Registration closed yesterday.
Well, you can
Hello.
show up, but
They're not gonna turn away anybody if
yeah,
you wanted to go up there. You called them.
you can hang out and. But, yeah, it's kind of important to get
Mayor's got
everybody.
double beds in his room if anybody's the
And I encourage everybody to listen to the tape of that last meeting of the Vision Committee.
The meeting. No records.
There was another recording.
Nope.
of the December.
Of the June. So it would be that soon. Talk about that.
Well, but at the January meeting, when everybody sat down here,
I was told that they were gonna rec,
I don't think you were present,
no, I was trying to join on.
but two people after the meeting, a couple days after, gave me a call and said it was a very successful meeting, that they finally all came around to agreeing that tax revenue is important. Decision making.
One of those people calls me.
No, it was Cliff and EJ,
Okay.
Cliff Branch, Eddie Sanson.
I was expecting EJ would already know about the tax revenue parts.
Well, I'm just saying that they came around saying that that was a decision that tax revenue from anything developed to out there is a priority. They said they finally all came around and agreed. Was that not true, Carl? So,
Yeah, when I think that format of having the committee talk to each other instead of just presentation, the focus group style. Fully expect that.
okay, so, with that, we have a motion to adjourn? Or did you have something? Yes. Oh, you looked, I thought maybe,
No, I was trying to be attentive.
oh, okay. All right. I thought maybe, I didn't want to cut you off.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion? Got a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Hear none? Work session is adjourned. Let's take 5 minutes and we should fly through this.
New curb and gutter, new storm sewers.